After Madagascar, I was posted back to Cambridgeshire, in this case, Royal Air Force, Whitton in Cambridge. And then I was working with a different type of aircraft, in this case, Victor aircraft, massive, massive in comparison to the Shackletons, which was World War II. Victors were more of a modern aircraft, more modern. And then I think we had 51 Squadron, I think, was there as well. Ones we did out there, can't remember, Nimrods. Yeah, so we had a variety of aircraft on the one base, but my trade worked with all of them. So that was very interesting because there was a difference. And also the type of job, depending on what aircraft, changes all the time. So I was doing different roles because of the different aircraft. So I was at Whitton for a number of time, and I got to about age 20, and they said to me that there was an attachment coming up to Maseira, and I'm thinking, where is that? And it was in Oman. And me, I just wanted to travel, so yeah, I'll go. Nobody else wanted to go. And when I got there, I realized why. It was like just a desert. I mean, like, you don't see a blade of green grass. It's just like, brown and mountainous and volcanic sort of, But it was very good in terms of learning again, because you seen different people again. The ladies, all you could see of a female was just the eyes. Everything was covered to toe in black. And again, when you expose a young person to those kind of things, it's just a learning curve, So I did 10 days there, but it was really very, very interesting, And it was still traveling, so I put a tick in the box as something very positive, really. So I was back at Whitton, and then about after 2.5 years of being in the Air Force, I was sent to Germany, Royal Air Force Gütersloh. And my first experience again, working on Wessex aircrafts and Lightnings and that sort of thing. But while I was there on the squadrons, you realize that there's really, the Air Force is really very powerful in terms of where it goes in the world and what you do. So I used to just travel all around Belgium, Holland, I went to Denmark, I went to Sardinia. So I went from Wessex to Lightning aircraft, and we had Phantoms as well. So you would just get up and go to somewhere for 2 weeks, and you do what you have to do, and you come back. And I served my 2.5 years in Gütersloh, and then I went and I came back. So that was 1972, 75, and I went up to Lincoln, to RAF Scampton, where I was working on the Vulcans, 35 Squadron. And that again was another experience, because that's going from, a different type of aircraft, very graceful and all that. And that was a good experience again. Then I left, went back to Whitton, and working again with all these different similar aircraft. I then left Whitton and went back to Germany again in the 80s, where I was working on Jaguar aircraft, on 20 Squadron. And that's, again, where I started going places, because I went to so many different places. Every year we used to go to Sardinia, which is Decima Manu, for 3 weeks, whether you like it or not. Knife, fork, and spoon, everything. We'll take it on the squadron and we go. And you do bombing and strafing, because the aircrew had to learn to actually hit the target with the bomb and also shoot the target. So you would go and do your training alongside many other countries, Germans and others that would come and do the same thing there, and you'd work together. So it was a multi-role sort of station. So again, you're meeting so many different people. And then the Italians, of course, being Sardinia, they were completely different culture, believe me, positive and negative. And it was very good. But wherever we went as RAF people, we just got the best out of the situation. Yeah, so going to RAF Bergen and spending, that was 1982 to 85, and spending a lot of time on the squadron there, again, was a fascinating experience, because when you travel all the time like that, it impacts on the family. And you don't know how much until one day I came back and my son, Well, my wife was telling me that my son was having headaches, and when I got back, he said, "I only get a headache when you go away, Daddy." So but it was a regular thing to up and go. You'd come and you back on the squad, and they said, "Right, we're going to France for a couple of weeks," and we come back and you go into Scotland for 3 weeks. And I went to Scotland for 3 weeks, and I came back, and there was a guy waiting at the foot of the aircraft for me to go to Berlin for 4 days. And I said, "When?" And he was, "What is the next day?" And it was rolling on. And I came back from there, and I went to Las Vegas for 7 weeks. So the impact of that on your children and your family, and it impacts on you as well as an individual, because you are a family person as well. So when you go away, it's not just the family that misses, you miss the family as well. So it was quite interesting. So I did at Bergen, and left Bergen, and I came back. I came back to Marif, yeah. So I met up again some of those aircraft, Victors and all Canberras and all that. Then they brought in Tornadoes as well, and all of that. And I went between Whitton and Marham, and eventually I got posted to the training school, which is here at RAF Gosford. Now I can tell you, when I did my training, I said to myself, if I was ever posted to a training school, I'd leave the RAF. Because I'm thinking, well, that's not what I joined up for, to be a part of this training thing. But my experience of traveling around the world and the experience I gained on the squadron, I was really suited for it, but I just didn't want to believe that. And my squadron leader at the time said that he wrote me this glowing report. When he read it to me, I said, "Who's that about?" And he said, "It's you. You are going." So I took over this training school in, I think it was 1998. I was the training manager for my school. And again, my whole life changed, because that's a completely different experience, where you're now going from an operational unit, which is where I went and spent most of my time, not just an operation unit, but on the squadron, on the front line. This is the Royal Air Force front line. Get up and go. I mean, at times, I remember being at Whitton one day, and they said, "Right, we're going." And by 4 o'clock that day, we were in Gibraltar, quite a few of us. And that's a life I was used to. You come to a training school and all that stops. You are managing people. So I came to training school, and I had to learn to manage. You go on courses and they teach you, and the courses are not a piece of cake, they're hard. So you learn to manage, because I was in charge of instructors. And then I was in charge of, every month I would get 12 trainees, boys, girls, 16 and a half up to whatever age, coming. Every month, a new lot. So I had to learn to manage. I think I had about 13 to 20 instructors. So I'm managing adults. I'm dealing with marriage breakups, girlfriend breaks up and whatever. And that's just the stuff, right? And then you deal with trainees who join in the military for the first time. And I'm saying, don't do it, because I did it when I was young, so I know what you're going to get up to, and you're not going to get with it. All those things you've got to learn to deal with and manage it. So I was here for quite a number of years, total 7 years, I believe. And in between that time, it was really a big learning curve, because lots of things happen. The human being is not, you learn about a human being. People will lie, they will steal, and they'll be the best you've ever met. So that right across section. And a standout moment for me was when an airman came in, and I looked at his record, because I used to get all the trainees' record when they go to basic training. In this case, it was like Holton. They would be there for 6 weeks, and about 3 days before they arrived, they would send me all their training records, the files, and I would read through each file, the 12 of them, and I have to make a decision as to who was going to be class leader and deputy, and I would just do that from the files. And when I read this one file, you get a mark out of 1 to 6. He had all ones, and that's the lowest. So in my mind, I said to myself, some of those are 0. But at the time, the standards were lowered in the military, because there weren't enough 18 to 25 years 25-year-olds to supply industry and the military. So the military dropped the standards. And I said to this, my boss, wing commander, sir, this young man will not make the grade because I can tell that they're just pushing him through. And he said, so looking at this young man's file, I just felt, well, with my experience, I just felt that he wouldn't make the grade. And it did happen that way. He had a problem in terms of attitude and behavior. Now, I couldn't just get rid of him and that attitude, but also academically as well. So cutting a long story short, what happens is if, as the boss of the school, if somebody's not making the grade, two reasons you come into my office: if you're very good and if you're not good, right? I have to deal with those things. So this young man had to come into my office, and I said to him, unfortunately, you're not making the grade because of what you've done, without repeating what he's done. And when I fill these forms out, I had to tick the box, 2 boxes. One, retain in the Air Force, do not retain in the Air Force. And I ticked, do not retain in the Air Force. When I do that, that goes up to a board, officers, whatever, and they will judge what I've written about this airman. I just wrote what it was. And they decided to get rid of him. Now that airman, when he was dismissed, the last day that he was on base here at RAF Cosford, he left a message on my answer phone saying, my name, the color of my skin, if I ever meet you, I have got a bullet up the chamber of my 45 waiting for your head. So a quick rewind, and I listen, I know your family live, and I'm waiting for you. Because of you, I've got to leave the Royal Air Force. So I stopped all what I was doing, called my equivalent rank in the military police, and they said, well, we're not being funny, but we've gone off to put you in the guard room under armed protection. So they took me across the other side of the base here, and I was under armed protection, and they found this guy. By that time, the whole of the station was surrounded by civil police, blue lights everywhere. I was then told that they found him, slapped the cuffs on him. They went to his room. He had 2 guns in his room, and there was loads of books on guns, which was obviously illegal. He wasn't meant to have those things. So that's just one of the things that happened here at Cosford. But there were multitudes of positivity, working with people, seeing them come in, seeing them transform from being so within themselves. We would send them out on a course and teach them how to be team members, working with people. And by the time, the training was 10 months schooling. By the time they left, it was like transforming to different people. They were most of them were like that, very positive.